This is the Chapter 2 review for Math 7. We're going to start with number 1. It says to order the numbers from least to greatest. So since we have some fractions here and some decimals, what we're going to do is change them all to the same form so we can compare them. We could change them all in fractions and then compare, but since we would have to get common denominators there, the easiest way would actually be changing them all into decimals. So above them, I'm going to write the decimal form. So 4/5 is 8/10, so 0.8. Negative 1.6 is already in decimal form. Negative 4/3 is negative 1.3 repeating. 0.9 and then 2/3 is 0.6 repeating. So now I want to do order these from least to greatest. And let's see, we are looking at negatives first. So we have two negatives. We have negative 1.6 and negative 1.3 repeating. We're looking for the decimal that is the larger value. The number that is closer to 0 is actually going to be larger. So we're going to want to put the negative number that's farthest away from 0. And in this case, it's going to be negative 1.6. Then negative 4/3. Remember to put it back in its original form. Then we'll have 2/3 or 0.6 repeating, 4/5 or 0.8, and then last but not least 0.9. So that would be our final answer there. We can box that. The next two questions are asking us to complete the statement using a less than, greater than, or equal to sign. So here, number 2, we have two decimals. Now we're looking at the number that is closer to 0 if we were going to plot them on the number line. And negative 2.34, that one is actually closer to 0 on a number line, so that one would be bigger, so we use the greater than sign there. Over here, number 3, we have 16/11ths, which if we wrote this as, changed it from improper fraction to a mixed number, would be 1 and 5/4, or 5/11, excuse me, and then 1 and 45/100, and that 45 repeats. So what I want to do is actually change this fraction here into a decimal. So when I divide 5 by 11, I end up getting 1.4545, and it continues on and on. So since these two are actually equivalent, we're going to put an equal sign there. For number 4, find the distance between the two numbers on the number line, 4 and 5 here. So for number 4, we have negative 9.7 and 6.2. So what we're going to do is take our larger number here, 6.2, and we're going to subtract it from our smaller number, which is negative 9.7. So I've set up my expression. I have these two negative signs next to each other, so that creates a positive. So I could rewrite this as 6.2 plus 9.7, and now it's just a simple addition problem with two decimals, and we end up getting 15.9 as our answer. So again, I would box that answer. Number 5, we have fractions, so those are going to be a little bit trickier. We are going to take our larger number. Again, since these are both negative, we're looking for the number that is closer to 0, which is this one here. We have negative 1 and 1/12 minus negative 8 and 3/8. Again, we have these two negative signs become a positive sign, so I'm going to rewrite that right underneath. Negative 1 and 1/12 plus 8 and 3/8. Now we have two mixed numbers. I'm going to use the big C method here, change them both into improper fractions. And when I do that, I'm going to have negative 13/12 plus 67/8. Remember, we use that big C method. We take our denominator, multiply it by our large number, our whole number, and add it to our numerator to find the new numerator. So here now we have two improper fractions. Since we're doing an addition problem, we do need a common denominator. And for this, it's going to be 24. So I'm going to multiply this first fraction, numerator and denominator, by 2. For my second fraction, I'm multiplying numerator and denominator by 3. And our new fractions would read negative 26/24 plus 201 24ths. So now I have common denominators. I can combine my numerators. So it's negative 26 plus 201 over 24, which is 175 over 24. I'm taking 201, subtracting 26 from that. And again, I'm going to change that improper fraction back into a mixed number so it's easier for us to see. 24 goes into 175 7 times, and then we have 7 left over. So that would be our new numerator. So our final answer would be 7 and 7/24. Now remember, for those two, distance is always positive. So when we're finding the distance between two numbers, although it may be two negative numbers or a positive and a negative, our distance will never be negative. So on to our second page here. It asks us to add or subtract, write it in simplest form. Now again, simplest form is referring to anything with a fraction in there. So 6 and 7 we're not going to worry about too much since those are both decimals. So I'm looking at number 6, 15.36 plus a negative 12.095. So I'm going to look here and decide whether my answer is going to be positive or negative. Do I have more positives? Do I have more negatives? I end up having more positives. So I'm going to write POS to the side to remember that is positive. So now that I've decided what my answer will be, I take my larger number and subtract my smaller number to find the difference. So I have 15.36 or 36 hundredths minus 12.095. Now, since I line up my decimals when I'm adding or subtracting, here I'm subtracting, I'm going to add a 0 here. That does not change the value. It's just for a placeholder there. So I can't do 0 minus 5. I have to borrow. This becomes a 5. Again, 5 minus 9, I cannot do that. I borrow once again. Change that 3 into a 2. Put 5 into a 15. 15 minus 9 is 6. 2 minus 0 is 2. I bring down my decimal. 5 minus 2 is 3. And 1 minus 1 is 0. So my final answer here is 3 and 265 thousandths. Number 7, I have negative 7 and 91 hundredths minus a negative 5 and 28 hundredths. So I have, again, these two negative signs next to each other. It makes a positive sign. Two negatives make a positive there. So I have negative 7.91 plus 5.28. Am I going to have more negatives or am I going to have more positives? Here I have more negatives, so this will be a negative answer. Make sure we check our sign at the end. So again, now I'm finding the difference between my larger value and my smaller value. So I have 7.91 minus 5.28. Need to find the difference there, and then that answer will be negative because we've decided our answer should be negative. So I'm going to do my subtraction here. Can't do 1 minus 8, so that's why I borrowed there. 11 minus 8 is 3. 8 minus 2 is 6. Bring down my decimal. 7 minus 5 is 2. So my answer should be a negative 2 and 63 hundredths. So I'll box that there. Now 8 and 9 are both fractions. So we're going to write our answer in simplest form if necessary. So if we need to simplify. Now 8, I have two mixed numbers. So I'm going to first change those into improper fractions using my big C method here. So I do 9 times negative 3 plus 7. So my numerator again will be negative because this starts as negative. I'm not changing the value of this fraction, I'm just changing the way it looks. So 9 times 3 is 27, then 27 plus 7 would be 34. So negative 34 ninths plus, change this one using my big C method. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7, so plus a negative 7 thirds. Now again, I'm doing addition, so I need to get a common denominator. My second fraction, I can actually multiply numerator and denominator by 3, and I get my common denominator there. So my new fraction will be negative 34 ninths plus negative 21 ninths. So now I have a common denominator. I'm going to bring my problem over to the right. And I'm going to combine my numerators, negative 34 plus negative 21 over 9. And here we'll end up getting negative 55 ninths. So now I need to change this into a mixed number from this improper fraction. And 9 goes into 55 6 times with 1 left over, so it'll be 6 1/9. But we need to make sure it is negative because we have a negative 55 there, so it's negative 6 1/9 for my final answer there. Number 9, 13/4, that's already written as an improper fraction, so we wouldn't have to change that. Minus a negative 4 9/10. So again, these two negative signs next to each other make a positive sign. So I have 13/4 plus 4 9/10. I'm going to change this second mixed number into an improper fraction using my big C method. And I'm going to have 13/4 plus 49/10. So now we need a common denominator between 4 and 10. The least common denominator will be 20, so I'm going to multiply my first fraction, numerator and denominator, by 5. Second fraction, I'm going to multiply numerator and denominator by 2. My new fraction here will be 65 over 20 plus 98 over 20. I can combine my numerators, 65 plus 98 over 20. When I combine that, I get a numerator of 163 over 20. And now I need to again simplify this, write it as a mixed number instead of an improper fraction. And I see how many times 20 goes into 163. How many full groups of 20 can I pull out? Of that 163 will be 8. And I have 3 left over, so it's 8 3/20 as my final answer there. So we've done the first 9 problems, a lot of work there. Hopefully we have all of our work shown. We need to make sure we show all of our work. Box your answer, and go ahead and watch the second video to continue grading your packet.